had to create this philosophy that everybody in the organization, right across the spectrum of the business, felt that they were contributing in achieving the organization outcomes. Now, we are very much a sales and marketing organization. We are a multinational operating company in Australia. So people tend to focus on sales and marketing, and especially coming from a sales and marketing background, that reinforces it. So the challenge was for me, how do I really engage the rest of the organization? Because we had this very divisionalized focus. So this was my role. I call it the square or the floppy square. How do you make that square floppy so that you don't stop where this is my accountability? No, if you feel that there is something to be done, go beyond that accountability. Now, how do you create that ownership that they can take that themselves and feel confident of going across boundaries? For us to create that, we created this one FXA, one Future Xerox Australia. One vision, one team. We coined that as the fundamental philosophy of our journey. That was important. Then it was important for me to make sure that they felt every part of the business contributed in achieving our broader organizational objectives. So when we did our mid-range planning, we started a new way of approaching it. So we had the organizational objectives, 5-year objectives, then a divisional objectives, and how it influenced the organizational objectives. So we linked threaded them together. So whenever any team, right down to the team level, any team could reflect on their objectives and thread it back and see how it influenced our organizational performance. It was so critical that we got that out. And it can't be just one person or the senior executive leadership team or the senior leadership team. It has to go to the ground level. So I call this that I want 2,000 leaders in the business. I don't want the top 100 leaders. I want 2,000 people there to lead change. If they are to lead change, they need to understand how they are contributing to the outcomes of the larger organization. So that was the first thing of mapping that out and drawing it out. And we had business plans, but they were all very individual business plans, which they couldn't see the thread. So that was the first part we did, and we wanted the communication to happen so that the team leaders would communicate with their teams to understand what that was. The second thing we did was making sure the divisional objectives and priorities were understood by the other functional areas as well. So the last management session we had, each of the general managers shared their goals and their priority objectives, initiatives with the right across the functional managers across the organization. So it's a long way to go. I mean, we are just started on the journey. It's a long way to go. But if we are to go on the journey, we need for the broader organization to understand how each other's priorities impact the other people and work together as one. The second thing we did was, you spoke about aligning it. If you're going to align priority objectives with functional areas, you have to pay them that way. You reward them that way. So first we changed our rewarding structure. So in the past, our general management group used to be paid on their functional area. Now they are paid on the organizational outcomes. Now that was a big change. There was a change because people find it difficult to understand things they can't control. How can they bonus on things they can't control? So that was a big change, so that we have to take them through and talk about how each of their interactions and the actions impact the organizational outcome. If you couldn't relate to that, it is difficult to sell them. So those were the things we had to align. We had to align remuneration. We had to clearly make sure they understood the broader organizational objectives by functions and how they fitted into it, and their contribution to the organizational outcomes, and then link their reward to that. So that's how we started doing that.